Hi, this is Jenna.
And this is Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. And if you think that we sound fucking amazing, it is because we do. There is something different. Why, yes. What could it be, Heather? What is different?
Maybe we have a Yeti in the studio.
Oh my God, not a Yeti.
Yeah.
And because the Yeti is so fluffy, it's making us sound better.
The Yeti is amazing.
The Yeti is a microphone. We bought a brand new microphone, and it seems like we sound great. We don't sound echoey.
No, not like we're in a cave at all.
Not like we are far away.
Or underwater.
We sound like we're right next to you in the car or on your run or whatever you're doing. We're just your BFFs. We're here for you.
I feel like we sound more like our true voices, too.
Do you think so? What if people don't like our true voices?
I think they're going to love
it. Okay, so today is about the book, Chapter 1984, and we are doing Chapter 2, Part 9-2. All right, so this part is, this Chapter 2, Part 9 is only, I will have you know, 40 pages, and we thought we could just, divide it into 20 pages, so 2 parts in the beginning of all this. And then as we continued forward, we realized we were overachievers and that would never happen, so we did it in 3 parts. And now that we've actually started to read it, we are now considering 4 parts, and because there's so much information in this little part because it's a book within a book.
It's very in-depth.
So in the last part, which was Chapter 2, Part 9-1, because we only did the first little bit of that, Winston got a hold of Goldstein's book, which is pretty much like the Brotherhood, the manual of the Brotherhood that they had just joined, so they could go incog and take out the party and be free.
Yeah.
Winston was also overworked because he did go through the 1 week of hate, which he was working 90 hours a week or some bullshit. It was crazy, and they actually set up cots in the office for them to sleep at work because they didn't get to go home for an entire week, because he was having to rewrite everything. For example, the dude comes out and is all mid-sentence, decides, hey, but he got a no. The speaker that was conducting the hate was just kidding. We actually are at war with East Asia now and peace with Eurasia. And just for a simple reminder, Winston is living in in Oceania. There are 3 countries. And this one is Oceania. That was my phone. Sorry, guys. Okay, so moving on to the actual next part of this. We're on page 184. And we're pretty much in Winston's head because he's reading the book. So this is a book within a book at this point. And it is called The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical... It's spelled Oligarchical, collectivism, by Emmanuel Goldstein. Now, you may be wondering what the fuck oligarchical is, because guess what? We did not know either. So, oligarchy is a structure of power, governmental or economic, where the majority of power lies in hands of a few individuals. What is collectivism? Collectivism is any I can't speak. I can't read. Philosophic, political, religious, economic, or social outlook that emphasizes the interdependence of every human being. And I just got this off of, I guess it's called slideplayer.com. I'm not sure. It was just like a little meme that I Googled really quickly. So pretty much it is how their government is working. And that's the theory and practice of their government, I guess. Does that sound right?
It does, yes.
Okay. So here comes the book within a book. So chapter 1 of his book is titled Ignorance is Strength. And we find out, are you going to talk at all? What? Or am I just doing amazing?
You're doing amazing, and I don't want to cut you off, but I think you're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah, chapter 1 is titled Ignorance is Strength.
Well, you can't repeat me now.
Well, I'm just concurring. I concur. I concur.
Well, I'm incurring. We find out that there's 3 kinds of people, the high, the middle, the low, and no matter what happens, society will always revert back to the 3 classes. No matter how much society tries to change it, they bring back hope, they try to combat it. It just doesn't, it always goes back to high, middle, and low class, pretty much. And there's no way to get out of it. And they used an analogy. Do you want to read the analogy about the gyroscope?
Of course. So it goes on to say, even after enormous upheavals and seemingly irrecoverable changes, the same pattern has always reasserted itself, just as a gyroscope will always return to equilibrium. However, far it is pushed away.
Pushed one way or the other.
I underlined it, and I'm crossing out words. So,
I did that too.
One way or another. Yes.
So, what I found out from Kids Britannica, because they have the easiest definitions to understand, so I look at kid books. Mm-hmm. So, according to Kids Britannica, a gyroscope is a device that can be used to tell when a moving object has changed direction. They are used for navigation to keep planes and ships on course. So I had heard of a gyroscope, but I needed the picture of it. And once I saw it, then I knew exactly what it was. And I thought the definition would make it more clear in words without seeing what it is. But I don't think it really helps either. But it's like a cylinder. It's a circle, spear shape, and it's on an axis, and there's multiple lines. So whenever it goes one way or another, then it tilts, and then you know if you're going to the left, to the right.
I can picture it in my mind completely because I have seen a lot of movies where they have gyroscopes for the ships and stuff.
Yeah, well, I looked. I knew what it was. I was hoping that the definition would give more of a vivid image, and it does not. So, anyway, so it is what it is. So, that's what a gyroscope is. But I really like analogies, and I like that one, too. No matter what you do, no matter how far you push it, it will always equal out, and it will always become the same.
Yeah.
What is next? So, then Winston takes a break from, reading, and he just kind of, soaks in the solitude. Mm-hmm. And do we know where he is? I thought he was just in his room.
Well, he was reading, but it did say that it was the comfort and the safety of it.
And so is he at Mr. Charrington's then?
Well, he was alone with no telescreen.
Yeah, because he's alone. Yeah, I'm looking back. He was at Mr. Charrington's waiting for Julia to arrive because the week of hate had just ended. So he's just hanging out there with the book waiting. So he's just literally just enjoying the book, and he's gosh, this is what people used to do, because he's not allowed to do that anymore. They don't just sit back and enjoy books. Proles can probably do that, but he's not allowed to do that. The party's not allowed to do that.
It was a safe space for him, and he was very comfortable.
Yeah.
And very excited to dive into this book by Goldstein, because he was really probably anticipating it for so long that he finally had it in his hands. It was probably a really good feeling. I imagine that when he was sitting in the armchair, because it says that he settled deeper into the armchair and he put his feet up on the fender, and it was bliss. It was eternity. So it was he was he had something that no one else really had. So he had almost like a secret, you know? Like he had like there's only 10 of these books, I think it said, or very, very few.
Oh, there's few. There's probably
maybe
like
less
6.
than 10.
Yeah, I thought there was only like 6 or 7. So it's almost like,
I don't know. I was thinking
so
like maybe
special.
10. So it's like, yeah, he's just like settling in. He's gonna read this book and get all the tea and just he seemed very content. Yeah, good word.
So he flips back open the book, and instead of continuing on where he started, he decides to just flip open a random page. So now we jump over to chapter 3, which is called War is Peace, which is just like what Big Brother, remember in the beginning, Big Brother would always say ignorance is strength, war is peace, and something else. And why are the chapters named after that? It's kind of freaking me out. Like maybe there's some plot twist where Goldstein is Big Brother.
Ooh.
Plot twist.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So this chapter just kind of goes into how the world split into these 3, they call it super states, being Eurasia, Eastasia, and Oceania. And Eurasia was Europe, and Europe was taken over by Russia, and that became Eurasia. The British Empire was taken over by the United States, and that was called Oceania because it was the British Empire, the United States, and all the islands and all like Greenland and Iceland, everything there in between, like in the Atlantic Ocean, all the little islands and stuff, that all became Oceania. And Eastasia was smaller than the others because it was the southern portion of Africa, and it says the British Isles and Australasia. It's not Australia; it says Australasia. Yeah. So Australia in this fictional world must have already been taken over by Asia at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that here. Those kind of threw me off when I read it.
Yeah, so those are the 3 superstates that are always permanently at war and have been for the last 25 years. And it goes on to being like, there's no reason for war other than the hysteria because each country or superstate's so large that it doesn't matter. Like, they don't need anything from anybody else, so there's no reason to be at war with each other other than to create this mass hysteria of constantly being worried and constantly believing in your government, trusting your government, and trusting the party, and trusting that they're going to take care of you because there's no material cause for fighting. There's, what did you...
Well, also it says that even though, like, there's this constant war, that it's constantly, like, repeating itself. And that it's just constantly, like, it never ends. It just keeps going and going and going. And that in the physical sense, the war involves a very small number of people, mostly highly trained specialists, and causes very few casualties in the fighting.
It was always after items. Like, there was always a shortage of goods because they would drop a rocket onto the goods just to get rid of them. And then they could keep the fear going. Yeah. And the reasons why the war doesn't make sense in this book within a book was because none of the 3 superstates could ever be conquered because they were all completely even. Mm-hmm. Nobody had greater power than the other. There was no material motive as the economy is self-contained within each of their own superstate. They do not trade goods. They're self-reliant and self-dependent on their own.
And then they each have, the superstate each has its own protection. Like Eurasia is protected by its vast land spaces. Mm-hmm. And then Oceania by the width of the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans, where East Asia is by its inhabitants. It's what is it in industries? Industries like
industriousness of its inhabitants. Yeah. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, other than to destroy goods, and we get into that I think a little bit later. There's some parts of the world that is not owned by the 3 superstates, so they're always like these properties are always changing hands, and these properties are disputed territories, and they have valuable minerals, vegetable products, and a bottomless reserve of cheap labor. So there are people living in these areas, and they just are slaves. And whoever is, whoever owns it at that time, whoever fought for it and got this, like, piece of property with all these slaves on it, now owns the slaves.
Yeah.
And they're, like, such bad slaves. Like, they're just, it's not nice. It's not okay. And
it goes on to even say that the inhabitants of these areas are reduced more or less openly to the status of slaves, and they're continuously can't say the word, but I can read it.
let me see, what word?
Conqueror.
Yeah, conquer.
From conqueror to conquer, because it just keeps redoing, like the word
Yeah,
just keeps
just
repeating. So it doesn't matter who's in power.
They
They never set the slaves free. It's not like someone new is in power and then they're like, oh, okay, you know, we're going to set you free. No, they just keep, it just never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends.
And if this was a fifth of the world's population were in these these areas, and they were called coolies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, the coolies.
The coolies. It's so weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they made that up. Anyways, this book is like a really hard read. It's to understand it because the writing style, I think, is different, and I think that George Orwell did that on purpose because he's no longer in Winston's mind, so he had to make it a different, like, thought. You know, like, because he's in Emmanuel Goldstein's mind because this is his book.
Yeah, and also the way that this reads is like there isn't paragraphs. It's just a one long thought. Like when you're reading the book, there isn't like really defined paragraphs. There's like a couple, but it's mainly just one huge paragraph.
And it really
like
is,
the paragraph is like 3 pages long.
Yeah, it's almost like it is like a manual for the Brotherhood, and so it's like almost like. In the beginning of the book, when we started to read this, it was like we were really confused, like, what's East Asia, what's this, what the fuck is this new world? Well, it's like we're having to, like, reread it over again, but through Emmanuel Goldstein's eyes as opposed to Winston's.
Mm-hmm.
Or
I mean, I thought they were countries until we get to this part, and it refers as super states.
But this is Emmanuel Goldstein's manual, so maybe nobody calls them super states except for Emmanuel Goldstein in order to have it be part of their brotherhood or whatever. Yeah. Something like that, you know?
It's a little confusing, but yeah.
Yeah. So, it just kind of details fighting over the war, and apparently, according to Goldstein, and this book, the book within the book, modern warfare is simply to use up all the surplus supplies. So, this is where I was going to read this part of the book. The world today is a bare, hungry, dilapidated place compared with the world that exists before 1914, and still more so if compared with the imaginary future to which the people of that period looked forward. In the early 20th century, the vision of a future society, unbelievably rich, leisured, orderly, and efficient, a glittering antiseptic world of glass and steel and snow-white concrete, was part of the consciousness of nearly every literate person. Science and technology were developing at a prodigious speed, and it seemed natural to assume that they would go on developing. This failed to happen. And it's like they had all this hope. So before 1914, they were like, we're going to change the world. We're going to do this. Everything is great. And now that it's 1984, the turn of the century, they're realizing that none of that actually happened. Everything just got worse and worse and worse. And there's more hunger. There's more. By trying to get everybody equal, it turned into worse.
And every time there's somebody new in power and they conquer that part of whatever, like, part of the war, they don't do anything. They don't fix anything.
They just keep it all, like, okay, so I have an example. Brad said, like, that he made parts for somebody for, like, the military. Mm-hmm. And that person said that they claimed that the old parts that they had made the year before were old. But it was, like, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of parts that had never even come out of the box, and they just threw them away. Because they needed to keep keep up with, they need to make sure that they got funding for military for the next year, funding for that department, funding for this, funding for that.
Oh, gosh.
But that's still kind of what we're talking, that's kind of the same thing, where they're wasting supplies, they're wasting steel, they're wasting whatever the material, the time, the energy,
just so they can get
can get the funding back again for next year, for this, for that.
Because if they don't need anything, then what are they going to get money for?
Yeah, exactly. And that is also how big corporations work too.
Yeah.
Like,
I've even seen it like, well, this could have to do with expiration dates, but I don't think so. Like, I think that, like, you know, I've seen videos on TikTok and stuff where people who work in restaurants, or not restaurants, in stores, grocery stores, where they'll take the food and they'll put it in the compactor. And, like, they don't donate it to the homeless.
They can't anymore. Do you know why?
They don't even, like, put it out in the dumpster where maybe the homeless...
They're not allowed to.
...can grab it.
Do you know why?
No.
They'll get sued.
Why?
Because if that homeless person gets sick, the stores will get sued for allowing them to...
It might not even be expired. It could be, like, 1 or 2 days off, but they already have so much more coming in that they just offload that.
Yeah, but they used to be able to donate to different Goodwill,
like
and
food banks
and
or
stuff.
Salvation Army or
now
something.
They're not allowed to.
Wow.
Because the Salvation Army won't accept it because they don't want to be liable for if somebody says, oh, I got E. coli from this.
Even if it's not even expired yet, it has like a couple more days, because it's not all expired.
That would be okay, but
they
if
don't.
Anything
they
else,
just take it and they just put it in.
No, I know. They used to have, when we used to drop off the boys, we go behind one of the grocery stores at their old daycare to cut through all the traffic. Yes, we're cheaters. Shut up. But anyways, we would cut through, and we would always see the trucks there, and then all of a sudden, slowly we stopped seeing them, and it's because they can't because that'd be liability. And it might not be like that in every state, but for sure here
in California,
yeah, in California, it's like so crazy, and it's like such a sue me state. Like everybody's so fucking sue happy.
And that's crazy because we know that people are listening to us all over the world. And, like, I'm curious how it is in other countries. Like, what do they do?
Oh, they probably are very nice and give away their
donate
food.
it, right?
Yeah, I could not imagine the people in, like, Belgium or New Zealand or any of those places
like
do
throwing it away.
No, they just seem so nice.
I mean, it just seems like such a waste.
It is.
Yeah, so that's what I thought of. Like,
yeah, it is such a waste. So it says as a whole, the world is more primitive today than it was 50 years ago, and it
totally is. Exactly.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, and it's only getting worse. In our real world, it's only getting worse. I mean, let alone this. But even then, like, we're having more and more homeless people, more and more hungry people, more and more, you know.
Mm-hmm. And
then other people are rising to fame for fucking having a TikTok.
Yeah, I know.
And spending, I saw somebody spend Disney World for 2 people spent $850 on a meal, and not like a good meal with like lots of alcohol. It was like a vegetarian, portion controlled, where it was all like fancy or whatever. It was for 2 people, and like one of the plates was like $180. I don't fucking know. They poured out drinks and it was like steaming and stuff.
So it was like $400 a person.
Stupid. Yeah, it was just, you know, and it's like, why are you gonna waste your like? There's so like, I waste money. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, how can like.
$400 is like my food budget for the month, if I'm being honest. Like, that's probably what I spend in the month, like, not going out to eat, like, groceries.
Yeah.
And that's even, like, low for California, but that's, like, what I try to, like, aim for.
And I get having fun and, you know, splurging a little bit, but I just, like, think, like, people actually live like that, like, all the time.
That's insane. Even if I had that much money, I just could not see myself spending it. I would more spend it on, like, let's get on a plane and let's go to Paris. Let's get on a plane and, like, I would want to travel.
Spend $800 in Paris on a meal?
No, but I wouldn't know.
Okay, I might. If I had money, I might.
I'm just saying, like, if I had money like that at my disposal, just like that, I would rather travel and have, like, experiences rather than just, like, food. You're just gonna, like, go to the bathroom, it's gonna be gone. Like, what's the point? You're gonna be hungry again in a couple hours. Like, it's not like something you can hold on to, like a ring. Or like the
you
memories.
Love your jewelry.
Or the memories of...
She's like, oh, it's cool.
No,
we go to Disneyland. It's cool. I don't need a souvenir. I just need a Pandora. We need to go to Pandora. I need that's my souvenir.
That's what I was thinking of. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Disneyland, like Ring. Yeah.
I get charged
Paris.
when I go.
Isn't there Disneyland in Paris?
There is.
There you go. See?
All right. Well, anyway.
Okay, so then we get into the part about the machine, and I have a machine with the question mark. Did you?
Yeah.
What is the machine?
I don't know, because when the machine first made its appearance, it was clear to all thinking people that the need for human drudgery and therefore to a great extent for human inequality had disappeared. So I think the machine is like referring to just like the government, the party, just the machine, like it just wore the moving parts of everything.
The party?
And they thought it was working, but they never repaired from the atomic war in the 50s. So they never like...
Because I didn't understand if it was like a literal machine. Like,
no, I didn't get it last night either.
It was like moving parts.
Yeah, no, it's just like the machine. The machine's against us, like the government, as another word for the government.
Okay.
So if the machine were used deliberately for that end, hunger, overwork, dirt, illiteracy, and disease could be eliminated within a few generations. Mm-hmm. However, if they did that, if they destroyed the hierarchy society where everyone worked short hours, had enough to eat, live in a house with a bathroom and a refrigerator, and possessed a motor car or even an airplane, and there'd be no inequality, everybody would be equal, the problem would have already disappeared. However, if it actually happened, that would mean that the poor people would become literate. Mm-hmm. Instead of being illiterate, they would wake up and they would be like, wait a minute, all you rich assholes are sitting there and I'm doing all the work. There's no need for you. Yeah. And then they'd push out all the rich assholes that don't do anything. Mm-hmm. Except maintain power, and they'd be like, wait, I'm the farmer, I'm the workaholic, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, we're all like putting in our fair share. Fuck you.
That was exactly my thought on it, is like basically the sheep would wake up and be like, wait a minute, you've been fucking us this whole time.
And that's what's happening now, like we were just saying, the TikTokers and all these, like, Kim Kardashian, famous for being famous, like she had a sex tape with Ray J.
It wasn't even that great, honestly.
Well, I mean, come on, she was nobody before that. She was O.J. Simpson's lawyer's daughter.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty. She was pretty when she was younger. She's cute, but
okay. Yeah. I know a lot of people that are cute when they were 20.
Well, it was like before girls had like now women have like OnlyFans, and like they didn't have anything like that. All she had was like a
MySpace.
The sex tape would be the closest thing to that. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like you look at it and it's like, what exactly are they doing?
But remember, a lot of people were doing that back then, like Pamela Anderson, even though she got hers stolen from her, though, so it's not really the same thing.
Paris Hilton, I had that one.
Yeah,
I love Paris. There's like certain people that I love, and it's Paris Hilton.
I do
and
love
Hugh Hefner. Like, it's so random, the people that I'm obsessed with.
But Paris Hilton is she's
so smart, and people don't give her enough credit and don't believe. Like, she was born with a lot of money. But she was only born with not as much as people think. She was only born with $5 million that was given to her, right? That was like her trust, which is a lot of money. But she made it into this multi-billion.
But she went through a lot as a teenager with her experience. She did, with
her going to the boarding schools and everything. Yeah. And then she also that's hot and all that. But she said that's all just an act, and you guys are all falling for it. Sorry.
Even like Marilyn Monroe, that was all an act. Yeah. Even back then. That was a persona that she put on so that way she could make money off of the image. It's the image.
Yeah. So anyways, so while this idea of being equal and everybody being the same, it sounds great, but in practice, such a society could not long remain stable.
So it's like socialism, though, right? Basically, if everybody had like the same.
But that would never work out.
Yeah.
And then even here it's saying it would never work out because there's always going to be somebody with more, and like it's just not going to be okay. Then I feel like the world is just in a constant cycle of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the book says they would sooner or later realize that the privileged minority had no function, and they would sweep it away. Like, in the long run, a hierarchical society was only possible on a basis of poverty and ignorance. Mm-hmm. So it's only saying that you can only do it if people are poor and stupid.
But that's how it is now, too, though. Like, the people that are in power... They're in power because they keep the people low, but like even now in America, like the middle class is like kind of dwindling away in a sense, mm-hmm. and that's what they want is they want to keep you reliant. They want people to be on like government assistance and like be in like debt to them in a sense, like almost like it's modern day slavery. Yeah, like it's not physical slavery in America. Yeah, but it's like monetarily like slavery. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. You know? And they are, yeah. They control you that way.
And they kept the masses in poverty by restricting the output of goods. And this happened during the final phase of capitalism between the 1920s and 1940s in this book. Over half the population was surviving only on state handouts.
Yeah, like food welfare. Assistance. Yeah, or food assistance or housing or childcare.
They're literally just on government assistance. Mm-hmm. So, and they kept the fight going, the warfare, and so they kept this like thought of like the poverty thought going that like, oh good, I'm so glad for the scraps that we have when the government is doing it.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like I just saw a thing on like a TikTok reel or something, and it was the CEO of JP Morgan, and there was a lady, I cannot remember her name right now. I want to say her name was April, but I might be wrong, and she did a breakdown of like a mock breakdown of one of the employees, like I think she said her name was like, I don't know, Penelope or Regina or something random, and she's like, she makes, it was whatever, like minimum wage, like 16, 17, whatever she said, an hour. She has to pay this much for rent. She has to pay this much for childcare, this much for food, this much for phone, this much for utilities. She breaks it down, and she has like a one child. She's a single mother. She breaks it down to where the lady's like in the negative like $600 roughly, mm-hmm. and she's like, okay, you're the CEO of JP Morgan, this is a JP Morgan employee, this is what they make as a bank teller. How is it that like you deal with millions of whatever dollars budget whatever per year for JP Morgan or whatever, but you cannot fix this like analogy of this $600 like difference that like you can't make this like what is, and he's like, I just don't know, I'd have to look into that, and he's like stumbling around it, and she's just like, this is basic math, and she's like going off on him. Cool. And it's JP Morgan. Yeah.
And like, that's a lot of companies, I don't know if they still do this, but they did for a while, where they would have like a big companies like that where there'd be like, you know, like 5,000 people in the building or whatever, would offer free childcare. Yeah. Because it would be cheap. You think about it, and if they did that, it's actually cheaper because it gives a benefit for people to want to work there. Mm-hmm. And then they get free childcare, and it's a tax write-off for the company to mm-hmm. pay the childcare workers. You know what I mean?
They're not going to, like, your employee's not going to call out because they don't have a sitter, and then you've got to scramble to find somebody else. Yeah. Or your customers are going to be waiting.
It's such a big benefit, you know, that wouldn't cost any company that much more if you have enough employees to fit the need. Yeah. So
I thought that was like fitting to what we were talking about right now. I just saw that last night too.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's just starting. It's just going around. Yeah.
So I wanted to read this part of it. This is the part whenever I called you and I was like, dude, I'm underlining half the page. You have to be highlighting the whole goddamn book.
My whole book is highlighted.
Yeah, like I'm like, this is too much. We need to stop before, you know, like where we were originally gonna stop at. So anyways, it says the essential act of war is destruction, not necessarily of human lives, but of the products of human labor. War is a way of shattering to pieces or pouring into the stratosphere or sinking in the depths of the sea materials which might otherwise be used to make the masses too comfortable and hence in the long run too intelligent. Even when weapons of war are not actually destroyed, their manufacture is still a convenient way of expending labor without producing anything that can be consumed. A floating fortress, for example, has locked up in the labor that would build several hundred cargo ships. Ultimately, it is scrapped as obsolete, never having brought any material benefit to anybody. And with further enormous labors, another floating fortress is built. In principle, the war effort is always so planned as to eat up any surplus that might exist, after meeting the bare needs of the population. In practice, the needs of the population are always underestimated, with the result that there is a chronic shortage of half the necessities of life. But this is looked on as an advantage. That, you get the little scraps that you can. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's keeping a shortage, and everyone is having, small privileges, and it makes the distinction from one group to another. Like, the inner party thinks they have it good, while the outer party has, a little bit of less, and then the pro is even less. But the line between them is so thin. I mean, what does Winston and O'Brien have that are different? Yes, O'Brien has white walls, 2 servants, and he can turn off his telescreen, and he has wine and better cigarettes.
And he can only turn off his telescreen for 30 minutes.
Yeah, but that's such a big difference.
It is, yeah, but...
Well, for them, it's oh my God. But in reality, these little tiny privileges are really nothing.
They aren't, but when you don't have a lot of options and choices,
it
is a big deal because they don't have the luxury of choice.
And that is exactly how the government in this book is keeping them under control.
Yes.
But why? What is the purpose? Power-hungry assholes? Is that what we're up against? Is just power-hungry assholes? Why wouldn't you want people to be, happy and chill and, what the fuck is the point of it? Just to be power-hungry? I don't get it, because who is really... In this book, in this world, who has the most money? Who, if it's for money or something that?
Well, the party, right?
But O'Brien's part of the party, and that's all he has is just a little bit extra. If he was,
there's got to be people above O'Brien.
There has to be people above O'Brien.
There's that 1%.
I'm wondering if it's Goldstein. Plot twist.
Yeah.
There has to be somebody that's calling the shots and doing this.
And he's putting this out as propaganda.
Oh, shit.
And he has his little... Brotherhood as propaganda?
Yeah. I don't know. But ultimately it keeps everyone in poverty when compared to 1914, to before 1914.
Yeah.
I mean, you compare the two and it really is keeping everyone in poverty. And that is where I stopped. I gave up. And look, it's already been 37 minutes. I told you, it was way too long.
I know. Because if we would have continued,
we were going to continue to 8 more pages. It would be double.
Yeah, you counted. I didn't.
Yeah. 8. No. No way. No how. So there's that. And
it's just going to get deeper, though, the more.
Yeah. So, but we are already on page 192. And we're counting down the pages. There's only 326 pages left. So, I mean, really, we're doing really good. We only have 140 more pages left. We're way over halfway.
Yeah, and we said that we would probably finish around August 14th.
We've decided that we're now finishing around October. Probably September.
Maybe September 14th, because it's only 4 extra weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 4 weeks in September 14th.
Mid-September. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. And tell us how you think we sound. Do we sound like shit still, or did we get better? I think we sound we're figuring it out. That's the main thing. We are fucking getting it.
I feel like we should sound amazing considering that Brad finished the studio, so there's There's like the little, what are these called? Sound squares? Or
I don't know.
I don't know. There's like little foam. We're in a foam padded room.
We already had it 3/4 or 4. Like we already had the roof and 3 of the walls done. We were just missing the carpet and 1 wall.
Yeah, we have carpet.
We finished all that. We have carpet. We have that. We have the good mic.
We have the Yeti.
We have a fridge. Like we are doing shit. Yeah. Shit's getting done.
Yeah.
And
maybe we'll get headphones.
Maybe.
So we don't have to.
We have to.
We have to get headphones so we don't have to keep unplugging you.
Okay, guys. Well, that's us for today. And hang out and listen to us on Thursday. That's in 3 days.
And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out our reels. We have been posting more reels, and I think you'll really enjoy them. So give them a listen.
A quick look.
And share them. They're like 6-second reels about
all of our episodes.
Yeah.
And the links are in the comments usually.
Yeah, the links are going to be in the comments because we can't link it on the reel.
We're figuring it out.
We have to do it in the comments, so just look.
But you know what's great is that you guys are just here with us every step of the way, and that's awesome.
And we've been getting your messages, so
oh my gosh, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and message us with your experiences, because I was looking on a Bigfoot website, like a Bigfoot Facebook page, and there's all these people that were like giving experiences, and I was like, we need that.
We need your phenomenal fan experiences, please.
Yeah, we want to hear about all of your fun stuff, so
we have to do an episode on
and
all
we like
of you.
talking to people, so message us so we just don't talk to ourselves. Okay, email us conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com. Bye.